Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. We are here with the latest edition of the Casino Beats 100 Club Pathways series. Today I am delighted to say I'm joined by GameOn founder Sarah Blackburn.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. People know you in the industry, people know GameOn, people will see you at many, many events. But if we go back to kind of education and just leaving education and that part of your life, what avenues were open to yourself? What career paths did you want to get into, and what was the realistic, feasible options?
So when I left school, I didn't want to go to university because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started an office job, but then quickly decided that wasn't for me. And a job application to be cabin crew for the local airline came up. So I went for that. And at the time, it was a very prestigious job. So, I mean, yes, it was just a jet or an ATP flying to the UK and back, and they would do ski charters. But it was very Pan Am style. So you had to wear your hat, your gloves, full makeup whenever you were out in public. And they were looking for about 15 recruits. So I secured that job and became their youngest cabin crew member that they'd hired, and did that for 3 years, which I absolutely loved. And, you know, comes probably with quite a few tales as well. But I'd argue now that was the best PR training I could ever have had. And then after a few years, I started to feel quite violent with the tea and coffee pots. You know, somebody was asking me to put their bag up in the locker. And so I wanted to get into marketing because I thought it was going to be very Mad Men style. And again, going back to the Isle of Man, the marketing jobs were very much in insurance, life assurance, banking. So I applied for so many jobs, but because I'd gone straight from school to cabin crew, I think there might have been an assumption with many that why would they take me on, really? Or maybe I perhaps wasn't in any way qualified, which in a way they were right, but I just needed someone to give me a break. Somebody did. And then I quickly realised it was nothing like Mad Men, and it was dead boring. And then luckily for me, a PR agency that was very established on the island were looking for a junior. I blagged my way into the job, promising them that I knew even what a press release was, which I didn't know at the time, really. So, and then I got the guy who was training me in my previous job to quickly give me a 4-week lesson on how to write content, and then joined the PR agency, which I did for 5 years, and I absolutely loved it. And then the gaming industry arrived with quite a big bang on the island. And, you know, there was a marketing role going for a big company that was headquartering themselves there. And it just offered a whole new world for someone from the Isle of Man to travel, to see the world, to meet really new, exciting people, very, as we know, very entrepreneurial, very innovative people. And that's kind of how I then launched myself into gaming.
So that was the starting gaming. That's how you kind of worked your way in. How's the path been for Sarah since that? Where's your gaming journey taken you?
I moved to London, and I started working for a company called Evolution Gaming. And at the time, they were working out of a broom cupboard on Wigmore Street in London. And there was about 4 or 5 of us. And it was at such early stages. I was going out to Riga to show the game, the studios, the live casino studios, to operators who couldn't quite get their head around this live casino, but thought there was something in it. And I was helping with marketing, but I was also helping with license applications. And there was no guarantee that, you know, when they were even going to be able to pay us each month, because it was so early days. So I quickly decided, Craig, that this company was going nowhere, and decided to get out of it, which now in hindsight, probably bitterly regret. I could have worked for shares. So I left there, and I put my CV out, and Rob Dowling and Bruce Gamble approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in setting up a PR agency because they saw a gap in the market. And so I put a business plan together, and through multiple conversations, GameOn was born, I guess. Very quickly, I took on a business partner because I could see that there was going to become too much for me to just manage on my own. And it kind of grew from there. And then over the years, we decided to build an office in London, and we took on a load of staff and sales staff and account managers. lovely offices in Battersea, and very quickly it kind of imploded a little bit, and it was a really tough time for us as an agency. So we ended up, sadly, worst time of GameOn's history is we closed the office and we had to make people redundant, and it was shit. But it was business life. And then my business partner at the time then decided that she wanted to change her career. And so it was 6 months after we got married, Andy and I. So she left the business and Andy bought into the business, and then we started running it together. And that's kind of, I'd say about 8 years ago, where our company changed. And it really did evolve, and to a point where we are now is somewhere where I never, ever imagined we would be as a business. I never expected to grow a company again. I thought I'd keep it as a lifestyle business with just Andy and I. Lockdown certainly accelerated our business because we had companies who unfortunately were unable to travel, weren't going to conferences, weren't spending money on sponsorship, but still had to raise their profile. And we were in a very, very fortunate position that, we were able to help those companies during that time. So where we were here as a business, we kind of came up to here, and now we've glimpsed there. I don't want to go back down there, And but yeah, and it was good because during that time we were able to handpick the teams that we wanted to work with us too, who might have been affected because their businesses hadn't quite recovered or were taking slowly. It wasn't taking them a quick enough time to recover their own businesses, so they joined ours. So it's been a journey and a half, and it's still going, and it's still growing, and and we're also just thrilled with where we are.
You did say about business growing, and of course not wanting to drop to where you were years ago. What would you say are the biggest challenges associated with that? Associated to not kind of keeping GameOn where you are now, but still kind of building up. What do you think are the biggest challenges with that?
Oh, for sure. So, we focus very much on retention of clients, and we're very lucky that we have a very high retention level. The challenges are maybe competition, I would argue. I think for us, the one thing that we try and do is we try and exceed expectations from clients. We try and give maximum value. We try and be as flexible as possible. We've all seen how things can change on a dime. Maybe remote working sometimes has its challenges as well, to keep that team community going. And, Skype and Zoom and Teams, it only goes so far. So, but other than that, I would say that there's certainly more opportunity than there are challenges. But again, you're as strong as the team as you got. And I'm very fortunate that, Andy, who is what I would call the engine of the business, who does what I would also argue is the most dull bit of the business is, the payrolls and the licenses and the anything financial contracts he gets involved in. The team that we have are very involved in our business. So we've got amazing sounding boards. And, the team that we also have a very different way of working with our team. So all our team are contracted into us, but they all have the opportunity and the flexibility to do other work outside of GameOn. So, for instance, we've got Nikki, who's very much involved in an outstanding team and lead generation staff over events. Laura, she works with a guy who lost his leg in a terrible accident, but now he raises money for the Royal Marines. She helps him with his PR. Vicky loves the theatre, so she gets very much involved in different theatre productions and social media. So everyone's got other things that they do, but I feel like they bring that energy and whatever they're learning in those other roles back into our business. So we're very fortunate in that respect, but it is just making sure that as a team we keep very much together and we keep that communication going.
So we've looked at GameOn. Let's step back. Let's look at the industry as a whole. During your time in the industry, what would you say the biggest changes are during your time in the industry? And don't just feel like you have to concentrate on the good here. There can be changes for the better and the worse.
I feel like I've grown up with the industry. So I started young when it was young, and now we're kind of matured together. So, going back to the heady days when I first joined, it was brilliant fun, and the parties were wild, and it was awesome. It just seemed to be a bit more carefree and a little bit, just a bit more relaxed, I guess. But that's what it was at the time, and and it has matured and it has become more serious and more professional, and that's all fantastic, and as it should. So Craig, you couldn't pay me enough money to air some of the stories from 20 years ago in the gaming industry, but it has matured. It is doing better. I feel like we could be a wonderful benchmark for other tech industries for the way we have matured and the way we tackle certain subjects, like diversity and inclusivity as a good example. It's become an industry. If we are on holiday and we talk to people and they say, "What do you do for a living?" Previously, we might have said, "Oh, we work in working in the tech industry and entertainment." Well, that probably alludes to something else these days. But now I'm very proud to say that we work in the iGaming industry, because I feel from a reputation perspective, it has, it has become more serious and mature. And I think particularly when it comes to responsible gambling and that sort of thing, those topics are being discussed very openly, and people can see the changes very visibly that people are trying to make to do things better. So I think I'm not so nervous as to the reaction I might get from a stranger that I'm meeting in a bar for the first time now than I would have been a few years ago.
With that, we are nearly at the end of our time. We always end in the traditional manner with pathways now, and that is by asking if you could ask the 100 Club or the industry as a whole, if you was on a platform with the power to ask those people one question, to task them one thing, what would you ask?
What are they doing with their businesses to make sure that they are offsetting their carbon emissions for when the law comes in 7 years' time, and then again in 10 years' time when they've got to be 100% carbon neutral. So that's quite a big talking point for us at the minute. So that's what I would ask. What are you doing? And also, are you doing it? And is it just something that you say you're doing because it's great PR, or are you really doing it? And what action are you taking, and what policies are you putting into play?
Yeah, an interesting second bit there. Well, we're at the end. Thanks again for your time today. Thanks again to everyone for watching. That is the end of our latest Pathways. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.